this video I bring you 10 heavy grunge riffs to show you the brutal range of gain on offer from this Empress Effects Heavy Distortion pedal. Clearly this is a high gain pedal, but it has two channels, heavy and heavier, but they're identical on both sides. So you could set both sides up with the same voicing and use heavier as a solo boost just by turning up the output on that side, or you could just have two completely different voiced gain settings. There's a weight control on both sides to control the low end response, a highly tweakable EQ, you can even change the mid frequencies at the top, and a built-in noise gate. One final note is that I will be referring to the heavy and heavier side because throughout the demo I'm going to be voicing the lower gain stuff on this side and the higher gain sludgier stuff on this side of the pedal. But you can attain all of those tones on one side. I've just split them out for the purposes of this demo. So with all that said, let's get heavy. So whilst I would consider this next tune heavy, I think the tone used isn't that heavily distorted. So using these settings, which are kind of the lowest, I think these are the lowest gain settings we're going to use actually. So let's have a look at Pearl Jam's Go. It's an open D tuning, it goes like this. Stick with the heavy channel, but I'm going to turn up the gain a little bit, but the weight a bit more, right? So you get this kind of... You get a much fatter sound, right? So I think this is a great tone for Stone Temple Pilots' Dumb Love. Goes like this. Same channel again, so I've cranked the gain, bass and the weight right up, and you can get into an almost fuzzy type of distortion, which I think sounds pretty good for Nirvana's Negative Creep. So it's time to treat ourselves and go over to the heavier side of the pedal. And with these settings, you've got a super nice chug going on there. And this is perfect for Soundgarden's Room 1,000 Years Wide. The thing I love about this is even though it's such a high gain sound, you can still hear individual notes even when the rest of the strings are ringing out. So I'm a big fan of that one. I think that's one of my favourite tones. Now you may be thinking it can't get much heavier than that, but I think it can. Especially if you tune your E string down to B. Check this out. I think this is probably the heaviest of all the grunge riffs, actually. Comment below if you can think of heavier one than this. But Silverchair's Way Mule takes some beating. Goes like this. Right, time to get a bit sludgy now, and we're going to do a Melvins riff, Honey Bucket. And the middle riff of this is just so good. It's almost a bit sort of thrash metal, but it's got quite a almost a fuzzy tone. So I'm going with these settings, Gets you in the ballpark. Goes like this. Now if we stay on this side of the pedal with these settings, we're going to have a look at some L7. Wargasm, which is awesome. And this is the first riff I'm going to play, which is actually in standard tuning. All the others have been in like some sort of drop D or lower tuning, right? Now this deserves a mention because it's a banging riff, but let me play it first and then I'll show you with me rolling some of the tone off on my guitar, right? Not quite there, right? But if I roll down the tone control fully, and for the last couple of riffs, we are going back over to the heavy side of the pedal. Check these settings out, and I'm going to use two very similar settings to give you two very different sounding songs. First one's in drop D and is by a band called Tad, which are awesome. Check them out if you haven't heard of them. This is called Greasebox. Now one thing I want to show you with this setting is the noise gate. Listen to this. So this is it without the noise gate, and I'm going to turn it on now. Kills it instantly, right? So let's try the riff now. Now for the last riff, I'm going to stay in standard tuning and we're going to go for a tune by Hole called Celebrity Skin, which is just brilliant. It's a really huge sounding riff. I think it's pretty heavy, especially when you consider it's in standard tuning and it starts on the A chord. So we've got these settings, the same as Tad, right? But I've just tweaked the mids ever so slightly. It goes like this. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you again soon.